Hello there. I'm back on my Good Enough Mum page on Tuesdays at 9:15, and today what I'm going to talk about is about finding joy and celebrating the small things in life. The reason I thought I'd talk about this today is I was chatting to a friend on Facebook the other day, and she's got 4 children and they're about to go on holiday, and she was saying that she was really stressed out with getting ready, and sometimes the getting ready for the holiday, you need a holiday just to get over that bit, don't you? And it sort of struck me about that, how easy it is to get so caught up in the stress of the moment that we forget to actually enjoy ourselves. And especially when we've got a deadline, it can all feel a bit too much for us, can't it? And what I thought about that is, in actual fact, that's real life, isn't it? We have this lovely image of what going on holiday is going to be like, and we're going to be sitting around a pool and everybody's going to be getting on with each other and it's all going to be brilliant. And in actual fact, what can happen is it's all a bit too hot and people start bickering with each other. And that sort of lovely, perfect family holiday image is something that perhaps isn't quite as perfect as we'd hoped. Certainly, those are moments that I can remember. But also as well, I remember this is part of family, isn't it? This is family life, and it's so easy to spoil our enjoyment of stuff by looking at all the negative things that are going on. And so I thought it's actually life, isn't it? This is part of what we go through. Family life is about falling out with each other. It is about learning how to get on with each other. As parents, we quite often feel as though we're referees more than anything else. But that's life, isn't it? That's part of having a family. And actually, now my children are grown up, I look back on those times with a great deal of fondness. And so it sort of got me thinking about how really we need to celebrate even those small things, because even the stressy things, they're actually part of living. And if we didn't have our children, we wouldn't have that sort of stress. And actually, which would we prefer? And I think that's just an interesting thing. A friend of mine said to me the other day, we were talking about experiencing everything, and she said, you don't go to a concert to hear a symphony, to hear the last few bars of the symphony. You go along to the concert to experience the whole thing. And I just thought that was a tremendously helpful insight, because in this life that we're having, in this family life that we've signed up for, we experience the highs and the lows, but the lows are as important as the highs, because that's part of living. And it's often the small things that we miss when our children are grown up and gone. And it's the small things of, just sometimes you think, well, I wish their breakfast bowl was still out on the surface so I could clear it away, because they're not there anymore, and you sort of miss them. So my message is to really make the most of it, even though sometimes it is pretty stressful. And I sort of went along thinking about this, and I started to read a bit of Brené Brown's book. It's called Daring Greatly, and she talks about celebrating the joyful moments of life. And what she says is that sometimes you can walk into the room and you can look at your child asleep, and you can feel so happy and so full of joy as you watch your darling child just so peaceful. And then you can be hit by this terrible thought of, well, what would happen if? And you have all these terrible thoughts of what might happen, and you tend to catastrophize the worst possible things that could happen, because you're so frightened of loss, really. And certainly I think that's an experience that I can identify with. Often find if I go to the cinema, you get completely and utterly lost in the story of a film, and you come out, and what I find is I then start worrying about everything, because I've been so sort of lost in the moment that when I come back to real life, it sort of makes me worry. And it's those sort of moments I think that many people can identify with, when you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, everything's okay. And then you think, but what if, and you start worrying about stuff. And Brené Brown suggests that the answer to this is that we actually have a gratitude practice, that we actually really celebrate the things that we've got to be grateful for. And it's often just the very small things. And in that moment, when we feel, oh my God, what if? That we actually, in that moment, start practicing some gratitude. So this morning, for example, I decided to put this into practice. My oldest grown-up child was due to go into work today, but actually didn't feel well enough to go in. And I immediately went to a place of dreading what would happen and what might his work think. And, you know, just immediately started to worry and to catastrophize. And Brené's words came back to me in that moment. And I thought and said to my other half, oh, isn't it good that this person's work is really understanding and that they're quite happy to allow their employees to work from home on some days. And the moment I sort of started to put that gratitude into place, it started to soothe those feelings of fear. And I realised that what's happening is that the fear was coming up for me. That's my threat system getting to work. At the moment, I'm doing some studying all about compassion-focused therapy, and it's looking at the different parts of our brain and how they work. And one part of our brain that gets activated quite a lot is the threat system. So when I was feeling that fear for my adult child, my threat system was coming into play. But another part of the system is the self-soothing system, and that's the part that we activate when we start feeling gratitude. And so when I came in and thought to myself, oh yeah, but work, I'm really grateful that their work is really understanding, that started to soothe those fears for me, and I began to feel better. So I wondered if you'd like to try that. When you are feeling vulnerable and worried about something, see if you can find something to be grateful for in that situation and see if that makes a difference to you. I'd be really interested to hear how you get on with that, and that's something that I'm going to carry on practicing as well. I hope that helps today, especially for all you mums who are in the throes of the last week or so of the school holidays. I know it's at this point it gets really difficult and you're just wishing for them to go back to school. But see if there's something today that you could feel grateful for in the moment of what you're doing with them. The school holidays are nearly over. See if there's something you could celebrate about having your children at home with you today. Okay, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again 9:15 on Tuesdays. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.